Hi guys, we're starting the second of our podcasts, Worth the Wait. I'm Melissa Penzotti and I will be joined by my husband Greg Penzotti in a little bit. But before that, I kind of wanted to take some time by myself to introduce a subject today, which is the whole reason for the start of this podcast. So, the most important thing in the world is that there are things that are worth the wait. And I got married at the age of 42 years old. And I truly feel that my husband was worth the wait. And we're going to talk a little bit about our relationship and why it was worth the wait in a little bit. But before then, I want to kind of give you my backstory. So I grew up in an amazing family with amazing parents and an amazing little brother. Lived in the small town of Whitehall, Michigan. Great town, small class sizes, and a great community. I had some really great friendships growing up, and I had some really great friendships when I went off to college. So I moved from a small town to an even smaller town in Spring Arbor. Went to Spring Arbor College in Spring Arbor, Michigan. It was 3 hours away from home. But anyway, so let me get back to Whitehall a little bit. So in my lifetime, I've had many relationships, and some of them were great and some of them were not so great. And when I was in high school, I basically had two main relationships. I had a relationship with a younger guy. I was a junior when he was a freshman. So when I was a senior, he was a sophomore, and we dated mostly my senior year. And then before him, I dated a guy on and off that I knew from my church. Great, funny guy, but we never could see eye to eye on whether or not we should be together. So back and forth. I liked him, he didn't like me. He liked me, I didn't like him. So then I went off for a summer, and I came back and I said, hey, I have something I want to tell you. And he said, so do I have something I want to tell you too. And I said, great, let's meet up. Great. Well, actually, I can't wait. Let me just tell you what I have to tell you. He says, okay. I say, I've just decided that enough of this back and forth. I think we should just be friends. We're better friends anyway, so I'm not going to go back and forth with dating you. And he got really quiet and said, well, I'll see you later. And I said, well, what do you want to say? And he said, never mind. And come to find out, he was all set to say, you know what, enough of this back and forth. I'm ready to be with you and only you, and let's figure this out. We're supposed to be together. And we ended up actually having a really good friendship. He is a person that if something went wrong, I could feel it in my bones. And then I'd call him and I'd be like, what's going on? And he would say, oh, I got in a car accident, or oh my gosh, I got pulled over, or my grandma's not doing well. And same thing for me, be like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just kind of going through some stuff right now. I'm sad because one of my friends is not being very cool. Or I'd be like, oh no, I'm sad because my grandma's not doing well. Or, we just kind of felt it when either of us something was wrong. And then I was working at that same summer camp one summer in 2000, and I was having a lot of fun, like playing the guitar, learning chords, just smiling and laughing. And all of a sudden, I went from extreme happiness to extreme sadness like that. And I had this feeling, and it made the hairs on my arm stand up. And I just started to cry, and I couldn't figure out why. And I didn't think about it. I was just really sad. And some of my friends were like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know. I went to bed that night, and the next morning I found out that he had gotten into a accident working construction and fell through a skylight and was on life support. And I found out at the Presbytery meeting, which is where we were all going that day because it was for a church camp, for a Presbyterian church camp. I saw my pastor there, and he told me that he had passed away. At that very moment that I looked down at my watch that night, that was when he passed away, and they pulled the plug. And for many years, I struggled with the fact that I was like, well, the one person I was meant to be with, that I kept on saying, no, I'm not giving you another chance to, and he was so sure that we were supposed to be together. I was like, I gave up my one person. I don't have anyone else. And then a couple of years later, I was praying and I just said, Lord, I just need to say goodbye. I need to just be done and let him go. And I let him go. And I know in my heart that if he were alive today, we still wouldn't be together because we were not matched the right way. We weren't on the same paths, but we would still be really great friends. But that was really hard. And it was really hard to say goodbye to him. And it was really hard to let go. And I miss him. I think about him a lot. I think about him at Mother's Day, which was the last time I saw him. And I think about him at Christmas when we used to exchange presents. And it's hard. But I realized he wasn't my person and I was meant to be with someone else. So, and in college I did have one relationship with someone, and he was also not meant to be with me. He was a very different religion than me, and that wasn't right. And then I went through all this like self-development and personal self-esteem where I lost a lot of weight and I looked pretty awesome. And I started having confidence in myself because I knew who I was and I knew that I was lovable because, you know, when I was going through high school and college, I was the funny fat friend. And I was not worthy of a relationship or a lasting one. I was not worthy of that. So I was now feeling pretty worthy. And I dated 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 and I dated. And nothing that great. I actually met my husband 8 years ago now, 8 or 9 years ago, whatever. And we dated for a couple weeks, and then he broke up with me in an apple orchard. And it wasn't the right timing, and we were not dating for that long, and I didn't feel like I needed to stick up for the relationship or fight for the relationship back then. So dating, whatever. And I'm just like, you know, when the right thing happens, it will happen. So I was on a road trip with my friend, and she said, hey, enough of this junk dating. Like, let's sign you up for something that will actually amount to something. And I signed up for an online dating site that you had to pay for. So it's like, you know, you get what you pay for. So if you're paying for it versus being free, must be the right thing to do, right? So I did. And we were on a long road trip to Hershey, Pennsylvania. And I came across a profile of this guy. And it was absolutely everything I was looking for. He was Italian. He seemed really gentlemanly, like everything. Liked kids, liked animals, like perfect. And I messaged him, not thinking he would ever message me back. And he messaged me back. And we started talking on the site, and then eventually I was like, well, why don't you text me? So on this long car ride where we didn't pull over until 4 o'clock in the morning, I was texting this guy the entire time. And we got to know each other pretty well. And so we had this trip to Hershey where we saw New Kids on the Block at the Mixtape Festival. It was the second year we had done that. The first year Backstreet Boys was with them, but this year it was just New Kids on the Block, and it was wonderful. And we had a great trip, and I kept on texting him and texting him pictures and all that. And then we talked and texted for a while before we met for the first time. And then when we met, we got along really well. We met at and got coffee, and it ended up being like a date that started at 4 o'clock. It was supposed to end at 6, and I didn't get home till 11 o'clock at night. And then he came and went to a movie with me the next day, and then basically we're inseparable. And then he moved in with me, and he was working a temp job that was turning into a full-time job as a computer tech kind of thing, and he was doing really great things. I got to meet his friend and his family and I guess it would be his goddaughter. He called her his niece. They are still great friends of mine to this day. But I never met his mom. His dad had passed away, but I never met his mom. He never introduced me to his mom. He never introduced me to his brothers. And I met, when we had a 40th birthday party for him, I met another one of his friends. So I knew two of his friends and his one friend's family. And I met a woman that was like a mom to him once. And I think that was all of the people that I ever had met that he introduced me to that from his life. But yet he was in my family. He met my family, met my parents, which I don't often, I would not introduce someone to my parents unless it meant something. I got really close to my mom, got really close to my dad, met my brother and my sister-in-law, and it was part of our family. My mom absolutely loved him. My mom came and stayed like nights and didn't at all feel bad if I had to work. And then one night he was visiting his friend and he was coming home and he got in a car accident where he said that there was some road rage from another driver and they backed up into his car and totaled his car. And it was that night that I found out that he had been fired from his job or let go from his job. That was weird. Well, during this time, we were living together, and now he doesn't have a job. So now he's not paying anything towards rent. We had gotten a new air conditioner, and we were both supposed to be making payments on that, and he stopped doing that too. And so basically, he's living with me, and then little by little, he wouldn't be around. And I took another job, so I was teaching all day. I was working at Barnes & Noble. I was tutoring a student, and I was doing an online business. And I was also making some stuff on the side, like craft things that I would sell. So I was doing all these things to make money to keep us going, right? So, and then little by little, he just stopped being around. Like, it would be the weekend, and he's like, oh, I'm going to go visit my friend because he and his wife are having problems. I'm going to go stay with him. And then he wouldn't come home. Or I'm going to go visit my mom. My mom needs me. My grandma's having health problems, and I need to be with her. Okay. Well, and then I got hurt. I was, my parents were over, and I decided to slice into an avocado, and I sliced it into my hand with a knife, and I was in pain, and I was bleeding, and I was really not okay. And my mom texted him and said, come, we need you. And he never even responded. And little by little, things just stopped happening. Like, I wasn't getting affection anymore. And I wasn't even, like, most of the time, if he was home, he was down in the office on the computer or just eating the food that I was making. And that was it. And, like, sometimes we would sit down and we watch TV or watch movies together. But it wasn't, like, I wasn't the one deciding what we were watching. It was him. And it wasn't ever a discussion. And then I started, little by little, he would say things that were just not okay. Like, he would tell me that why does anybody even care what I say? If I were to tell him that I was doing this podcast, he'd be like, who in the world would listen to you? Why would anybody want to hear you? Why would anybody want to hear what you have to say? You're not anybody special. I got home from work and I had had enough, and I said to him, you know, I made dinner and I came home before my other job so we could have dinner together, and you said that you were going to spend more time with me. You promised. And he said, well, you promised me things too. You promised me when we first got together that you were going to lose weight, and you're fatter than you were the day I met you. So basically and then my brother asked to meet with me alone for dinner one night, and he sat me down and said, I don't like the way that he's treating you. I can see this, and it's awful. And I think you're better than this, and I think you know it. You need to leave him. And I just didn't see it. Like, I was like, oh, he's just joking. He doesn't mean it. He doesn't realize what he's saying is mean and rude and cruel. if he knew that how much he was hurting me, he would be home more. He's a great person because he's with his mom. He's with his mom. What a great guy. And he never introduced me to his mom, so I can't go. So it's good that he's with his mom because he's a better son to her than his brothers are. His brothers are evil and mean. So it's good that he's going. And he's so good with his goddaughter. He's so good with kids. He doesn't realize that he's not treating me well. He doesn't realize what he's saying and what this means. Well, then I went to a green carpet event for my side business, and they talked about the difference personal development makes, and about how people started, when they started putting God in the center of their life and in the center of their business, things got better. And I felt empty inside. I felt like, well, first of all, I felt, with this relationship, I felt like, why would I leave something that was the longest and greatest relationship I'd ever had? And why would I leave someone that's there for me? Well, was he really there for me? Was he really the greatest relationship I would ever gotten into? Was he really my person? Did I really deserve to be treated and talked to the way that I was? No. So I started to really think about it, and a friend of mine started praying with me one night. And she just prayed that the Lord would open my eyes. And it was the next day that I decided, you know what? It's time to get back to church. It's time to find a church. And so I started going. I went to a couple of my friends' churches. And one was way too big. One was okay, but still a little bit out of my comfort zone.
It sounds like Goldilocks.
Yeah, one was too big, one was too small. I have to find one that's just right. And then I started listening to podcasts and listening to things like The Greatest Secret. And I listened to Everybody Everywhere by Bob Goff. And I listened to Rachel Hollis, Girl, Wash Your Face. And I listened to these things, and I prayed more regularly than I had been in a really long time. And I said, God, something's not right, and I feel empty. Fill me and show me what you need me to do. And it was at that time that I decided I couldn't take this anymore. And what this relationship was doing to me was not okay. And so I texted him because he wasn't home. And I basically gave him a way to stick with me, actually. I was like, I'm done. If you can't come home this weekend, I'm done. I'm not putting up with this anymore. So you either come home and we talk this out and you fight for this, or we're done. He didn't respond. He didn't respond that day. He didn't respond that night. He didn't respond the next night. Monday morning, I texted him and I said, I got my answer. Let me know when you're going to pick up your stuff. He came while I was gone at work and took his television, his game console, and one of his CPUs, because those were the most important things to him. He left my door unlocked. I was furious. My parents came. Tell you what, back then, the thing I kept saying was, sometimes the only man you can rely on is your daddy. And it was true, because when my kitchen started to leak again, oh yeah, because that was happening too when he was non-existent. I was getting a new kitchen because our dishwasher exploded. And the plumbing started to leak into the basement while I was home alone. And my parents drove to me from Whitehall to help me and get an emergency plumber there. Because literally I had no money. Because all of my money was going into repairs and was going into paying bills, because that's just the way it was. So anyway, my parents came while I was at work, and they got a locksmith to change the lock on the door so that if he came back, he couldn't get in without a key, and his key didn't work anymore. I texted him And I said, the next time you need to get a load of stuff, let me know, because you're not coming in here without me being here. He came to get his next row of stuff, and guess what? My parents were there. My dad helped him move all the rest of his crap to storage so he would be out faster. Once again, sometimes the only man a girl can rely on is her daddy.
You probably started looking on real estate for him.
Probably did. I can't imagine what my life would be like without my parents, especially during that time. Now, as I'm becoming open to what God wants me to do in my life, and I've put him in the center of my life, in the center of my business, in the center of everything, all of a sudden I see a friend suggestion pop up on Facebook that says that I should friend this guy that I dated 7 years ago. And I said, why not? So what if he's a Michigan fan? So what if he is very vocally expressive about political beliefs? So what? Let's see what he's been up to.
He's getting better at that, by the way.
So I friended him. And I get a message that says, or a comment on my Facebook almost instantly that says, oh, it looks like you're in a relationship. Are there going to be wedding bills soon? To which I responded, actually, ... I'll message you. And I private messaged him and I said, actually, I just broke up with my relationship. It wasn't good.
Somewhat trampoline.
And how are you? So we started talking on Messenger. And we decided we'd meet up. We'd meet up for lunch or dinner or something at the at Core Life in Granville. And it was on the day of elections in November of that year. But then I got sick. I didn't feel good. I was home from school that day. And I said, I don't want to get you sick. Let's do it another time. So then we decided we would meet halfway at the 84th Street Grill in Byron Center. Now, if you're unfamiliar of geography in the state of Michigan, Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo are about an hour away from each other. Byron Center is 10 minutes from where I lived in Jenison, maybe 15, and was probably 40 minutes or 45 minutes away from Kalamazoo. So it wasn't really halfway, but I think in my own defense, I was thinking, oh, it's right off the highway. So therefore it should be easy, right? Yeah, so we met up at 84th Street Grill and we started talking. And after that, we started dating. And amazingly enough, we realized that even though we have some huge differences, that this was meant to be. I knew very early on that we were meant to be together. I knew very early on that we were meant to spend our lives together. And even though he's the first one to say, I love you, I was ready to. I just didn't want him to be scared. Because remember, he broke up with me in an apple orchard. So, did he freak out throughout our dating career? Yes. Yes, a million times yes. He would freak out and think that this can't be right, this is too easy, things were moving too fast. And when that happened, I fought for our relationship. I came to Kalamazoo, I talked it out with him, I explained to him why this was right and worth fighting for. And it's pretty amazing because I realized going through the worst relationship I had ever had with the worst possible person in the whole world, that I was ready to meet the love of my life. And I was ready to be with this man. This man who was truly worth the wait. Who became my best friend. The person that the first person I think of that I want to do things with. So when I decided I wanted to go back to Disney, it was because I wanted to show Greg Disney. Because I wanted to do this with Greg, my husband, who hadn't been there since Epcot was being built. What? The person that when I think of my first trip to Hawaii, because I'm the only one in my family that has never been to Hawaii, I immediately know that I want to go there with my husband. He is truly my best friend. He truly has been worth the wait. And now I'm bringing him on here with me. So there you go. I mean, that was 25 minutes of me explaining to you how this happened. So let's bring him in. I like how you're right in front of the thing here. I can move over. You want to go?
This thing's 25 minutes already?
Yeah, I've already been talking for 25 minutes.
No one's going to watch this for 25 minutes. You're going to have to edit this.
I don't know how to edit.
Or a half an hour long video.
I don't know how to edit.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want me to stop this and make it into another part?
Let's just go with it. Anyhow, I come along, and you know, my mom, when she first met Melissa, said, Greg, this girl's a keeper. You, don't let her go. She also, when I first talked about Melissa, said, isn't that the girl that you didn't think was right, that you broke up with her because you didn't think it was the right person, didn't think that she was in the right place with God, and, you know, and were questioning where she was with her faith and stuff. And, well, I was looking for excuses more than anything else.
So tell them, why don't you tell them your side of things? So tell them about when we dated before and then when we got back together.
Okay.
7 years ago, 8 years ago.
And whatever it is, right? Well, I know that we met on
A dating site.
a dating site. I don't know which one. I don't remember one.
It's all right. We're not saying names of dating sites because we're not going to advertise for them
Oh, that's right.
unless they pay us.
This video brought to you by. Just kidding. And I'm just happy to say this is, she's changed me in lots of ways and made me think about things in lots of ways. And I'm wearing a Lions shirt today because it's the Super Bowl. And it's the closest thing that there's going to get to the Super Bowl for the Lions. And I've been kind of, boycotting is a bad word, pondering whether or not in the NFL is something that I would like to watch for because of
Okay.
things. Don't want to get in.
No, that's not what this video is about.
And I really got sidetracked there.
Yeah. So
This
let's
is something
go back
that-
to what we're talking about.
This is something Melissa has to deal with all the time.
I know.
I don't know what happened there.
Okay, so 7 years ago.
All right.
we were
So
dating.
anyhow, I read and heard, and I read on datings because I could not meet people. Not very confident. I never really dated in high school or in college much at all. I just wasn't a very confident person at all. But when it came to dating and stuff, I knew that if I could meet her and make her feel comfortable by going and meeting up there in Granville where you were from. I think you were living in Granville at the time and not in Jenison, right?
Right.
So, I also know that, so we met at there's a clubhouse. What's the name of that place?
There's like this grill in Granville at like the like Sunnyside or something like that.
And it was a good conversation, and we had a good meal, and we went out a few times after that.
Went to Art Prize.
Went to Art Prize, and it just felt like, I don't know, things got really serious quick, and I didn't mind it. I think that there were some things that I was looking for in girlfriends that Melissa met a lot of those things, but I also wasn't mature in a lot of areas too. So anyhow, I freaked out. I don't think that she was ready, or she might have been ready, but anyhow. And then eventually we were supposed to go to the apple orchard, and I think I was about an hour late. The conversation, push comes to shove. I broke up with her
I picked apples by myself.
for like an hour.
Yeah.
Greg. Anyhow, so I'm sitting, I think I might have been at work after work hours, but I was at work doing something on the computer, like making icons for the students or something. And I happened to click on my Facebook, and it said that Melissa was requesting me as a friend. I'm like, well, I've been thinking about her, and I thought about her multiple times, and I think we tried like two or three times to get back together, but it just never really worked. And I don't think I tried real hard to do that, to be honest. But she would pop up into the back of my head and roll to the front in here, and I'd think about her. So it wasn't someone. It was someone that Melissa was always someone that I would think about a lot of times. And so I just thought, well, what does it hurt? You know, and I've been praying, and people have been praying for me because I get frustrated about being single. So I know that I know that God was at work in bringing people in my. I do remember praying something along the lines, God, I'm tired, and I'm sick of being single, and I'm, you know, the whole thing, all those type of prayers, something along that lines, very very like recently before that. Anyhow, we got the friend request. You heard about how we met at the 84th Street Grill. And then it was the time when your mom was in town. And that's when I was texting you, and I was just getting weird. I think it was when I was going to meet your parents and those type of things, those steps in the relationship that you take that
You were freaking out.
I would freak out. Get this, big Michigan State fans, right? And this is how awesome the Boughtons are. Big Michigan State fans. Well, guess what I wore to meet their parents? Michigan hat with a blue and gold striped shirt, all this Michigan stuff, and I don't think your dad said a word.
You didn't.
He didn't care.
Nope.
Let's see. Met them, and it was actually a very delightful evening. And then there was a time when when I knew that I actually probably knew that Melissa was the right person, but I was too scared to admit it. And so we met in the parking lot of the apartment complex that I was living in. She gave me, and I've been praying about it. I met my parents prior to that, because talked to them. I said, "This is what I'm thinking. I don't know what I just can't. I don't know. I don't know if I want to break up with her, but I don't know. I just don't understand what's going on. I don't know these feelings. I really don't get it." Type thing. Anyhow, so we met, and she gave me it was like a card or a note, and some scripture on it, and some things that you were thinking about on it. And what she wrote on there was almost practically everything I needed to hear.
Without knowing that, I mean, I had no idea what was going on in his head.
Right. So I read that, and then we had the conversation, and then actually I was at the time. It was on Monday, and I don't even know if you were supposed to be there that day. I think it was one of those days you felt like you needed to come to Kalamazoo. Mm-hmm. My boy, she hasn't. He might have had food. It didn't matter. We went to go meet. I think that we went to. I'm trying to remember that right. No. Because the first time you met my parents, they were at Jeff and Laura's house.
Right.
And we went out there. soon as I started feeling comfortable, then that's when I started doing a little bit more of that kind of stuff. They met her. My parents were babysitting at my brother's house. It was Jeff and Laura's house, and they're my three nephews were
No,
there. My nephew and two nieces. My three nephews.
I was like, you only have two nephews.
Yeah,
We only have two nephews.
we have three total now.
We have three total now. Yeah.
So we went out to their house. She met my parents, and I think maybe Olivia and the kids.
I did. We had dinner together.
Right. So met all, and then we also met Olivia and Jeff and Laura one other time at a basketball game in Schoolcraft. Well, were we saying cities? And then Caleb graduated from high school that year, and Olivia came down with us to his high school graduation.
We were engaged then, though.
But you haven't met my sister.
Right.
All right, so the engagement story. So we go to Chicago, which was kind of another freak out for me.
We did.
But we went to Chicago and
For
we're going
spring break.
to see Hamilton.
Yeah, we went to Chicago for spring break. And then I got us Hamilton tickets. I didn't think I was going to be able to. I did. I was super excited.
And what's across the street from the theater that the Hamilton tickets were in is a Kay Jewelers. Mm-hmm. Went in and she said, "That's the ring I want if I were ever to get engaged and get married."
I tried it on. Greg's freaking out.
Yeah.
I'm not buying you a ring today. It's not happening.
And then I got mad at the Hamilton, which actually, when I think about it, it was stupid, because I actually think it's actually kind of cool that they cast it and didn't care about the color of the actors, and that's in the race of the actors, and I actually thought that was cool. But then when I saw it, I'm like, well, that's not historically accurate or whatever to do it that way, and I got all.
He was just freaking out.
I freak out the way I do.
You have a little wardrobe change
Yeah,
there?
well, see, Steve got me this. I think it's a really cool hat. That's the back of that one. This is the back of this one. This is a way sidetrack again. Anyhow, so we do the Chicago thing, and she saw the ring. Fast forward, after a few Starbucks and her fighting for relationships and other conversations, and the conversations that we had, and meeting people and doing things and having some wonderful dates and stuff, we went to Kay, and they didn't have that particular ring.
It would be like another month before they could get it
in stock. And she's, well, it's in Chicago.
So they call Chicago, and the ring I tried on was still there.
Right.
So they overnighted it to Kalamazoo so we could get. So the ring I tried on for spring break actually ended up being my engagement ring.
So we're in April, and that was in April, and this is now May.
Yeah, so a month later.
A month later. And I don't know why. So a month later, after freaking out, I'm ready now. We go, well, and then at that point, I'm like, well, and at that point, I was planning on buying it and just proposing to you. I had a plan to propose to you. And we ended up going to Bilbo's, and we're sitting in the booth across the thing, and I informally asked her to become my wife.
And I said yes.
Yes.
And then we got the ring, and you freaked out about buying the ring.
Well, I freaked out that day because I didn't realize that I was buying my wedding band at the same time. And I'm
Which we actually didn't do.
Because I'm like, I didn't want my wedding band to be more expensive than your wing. Your wing? Westerly Weapons.
Ooh. No, we only got the engagement ring that day.
Yeah, I don't know. Money is just.
So then we had Kristen Jankowski with us because we knew what was happening. So we go get the ring. We got Kristen with us. Greg's like, I have the perfect place to propose. He drives us through a freaking crime scene.
I got turned. I was nervous and excited. Well, I was nervous because I was officially going to be doing this. And I got turned around where I was. So when we left Kay Jeweler, I wanted to go. The location, it was on the East Campus of Western Michigan University, It was, and then where that archway is, where that building used to be, there's still like the doorway there. That's where I wanted to go because I thought it was a really cool place. But we went the wrong way and drove through a crime scene. So it was.
It will always be known as.
And Kristen's like laughing in the background because I
Yeah.
went the wrong way. And
So we go. He proposes, the formal proposal. I say yes.
Kristen was there to document it.
She took a million pictures,
My,
some video.
my niece was playing a soccer game at the high school that she was going to, and we went there. No,
Yeah.
middle school that she was going to school at, and we went there and talked to my mom first,
Your parents were both there.
and my parents, and told
Jeff.
them and showed them, and my brother was like, Mom, he's never introduced anybody to anyone before, and he talked about her at Thanksgiving. Duh. Like he
We
knew.
knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, he knew what was going to happen. My mom played like she was surprised. Olivia was very happy. Lucia and the kids were very happy.
Well, we didn't see Lucia, Charlie, or Laura at that point, but we called Kristen.
But we not
Yeah.
not immediately because
Right.
she was playing the game.
Yeah. But then we called Kristen, and she was watching Molly run track.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kristen and Ben found out that way because we called. So they all found out. So everybody in Louisville found out. We called my brother. We called we FaceTimed with my mom, and my dad was gone. So then we waited because we didn't put anything on Facebook until everyone we could possibly want to tell knew.
Right.
So texted my cousin, my best friend, everyone we could think of knew before we posted it on Facebook. And then we posted it on Facebook, and holy crap, I've never had so many likes and comments on anything in my life. That was incredible. So,
That's one of the things that I get weird about. I think that's in the back of my head. I put something on like social media, and then all of a sudden the whole boom, world explodes, and I like attention, but I don't like it when I don't like that kind of.
I do.
Well, yeah.
I like attention. But anyway, we're going to stop this podcast soonish.
Right, because we're
'cause
running into 45
really
minutes.
long.
I think she stalled because I was busy doing something else.
Oh my gosh, stop. So Greg, do you feel that our relationship was worth the wait?
Yes, and God knew what He was doing.
For sure.
Because the only thing that I'm glad we didn't wait about is we made the wedding plans in 2019 and had the weddings or actually 2018/19, and had the wedding that we wanted, and then got married, and then a couple months later the seriousness of COVID hit,
Oh yeah. Yep.
and God gave me a partner to get through COVID with,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I would have
There's
made
nobody I'd rather be quarantined with than you.
it. Right, and that's the truth.
How about you?
Well, at times I was like, I think I was tired of being shut down
I'm
in
not
the
who
place.
you want to be quarantined with.
But you are the person I want to
Okay.
be quarantined with.
was
There
like,
were days I'm like, ah! But it was only because it was quarantine, not
Not
that I
because
was the person I was with.
So.
So thank you, and have a great day.
Wait. Make sure that if you're watching this, you hit subscribe.
Ding!
And if you hit isn't there like a bell or something?
Yeah, the like button or something.
Yeah, we don't know. This is only a second of
Ring
our
the
podcast.
bell, ring the bell.
Okay, so thank you for watching this. If you watched all the way through, we really commend you for that. But we wanted to make sure that you knew why the podcast is known as Worth the Wait.
Worth the wait. I tell you exactly right now. I really hope that most of the videos that we're going to do together on here are going to be very delightful,
We are delightful.
but they're not going to be 45 minutes long.
This one would kind
But
of...
this is the title one, Worth the wait.
Even though it's the second one we've posted.
But this is the
why
reason
this is
why.
called this.
Right.
So, all right, thanks guys. Thanks for watching. We'll
Have
be with
a
you again
wonderful day.
soon.
Bye.